I used to spend hours a day scrolling through feeds of perfect lives, comparing my own and feeling like a complete failure in comparison. I was hooked on a fantasy. It was like an IV drip of people's highlight reels. But what if I told you that that fantasy, the one you're probably scrolling through right now, is actually a perfectly constructed trap? It's a trap designed not just to get your attention, but to actually make you deeply unhappy with your life. These platforms are literally engineered to make you feel bad. So today, we're going to discuss how those happy lies on your screen create this cycle of misery and completely destroy your motivation. And more importantly, I'm going to show you how facing the uncomfortable negative truth is the only way to break free and actually start building your future. So for me, it started small. It would be like a quick scroll through Instagram while my coffee brews, a quick flick on Twitter before my meeting. But then those minutes turned into hours. And I'd end up in this like digital rabbit hole where I just stumbled upon all of these posts by entrepreneurs who seem to have everything figured out and made it look so easy. You know, the ones, the flawless entrepreneurs like closing £1 million deals while lying on a beach in Bali, those fitness influencers with the absolute perfect bodies that just seem impossible to get, and while still managing to eat apparently anything they want, but they have their perfect morning routine that makes them ultimately productive every single day. And then you've got those picture perfect families who just have the most beautiful homes that don't even look lived in, and with the most crisp, clean linen, and everything in the place is just so perfect, and you just cannot fault anything about their lives and their homes and everything about them. And with every single post, this quiet but yet nagging voice in my head would be like, why isn't my life like that? What am I doing wrong? So my real life, with my messy apartment and like my boring routine tasks that I have to do on a day-to-day basis, and my zigzagging success roller coaster of entrepreneurship, was how I really lived. And I wasn't just looking at social media, I was comparing. And I was coming up short every single time. And this constant exposure to picture perfect lives everywhere was creating this really deep feeling of serious inadequacy and making me feel like my life was just not good enough. And this isn't actually a personal failing, it's a designed outcome. So let's just call it what it is. It's an addiction. It's not an addiction to a substance, but a feeling, or maybe even like this endless chase for one. Now, you've probably heard many times that every like or every comment triggers this little dopamine hit and releases it into your brain. So whilst brain chemistry is really complex, we know that this creates this dopamine feedback loop that drives motivation and reward and recognition that just keeps on coming back for more. But here's the twisted part about all of this. The rewards are really unpredictable, much like a slot machine. So you just keep pulling that lever, basically, refreshing the feed and hoping to hit that next jackpot of validation. So this creates this constant state of craving. So it's of no surprise, I'm sure, to you that as of 2025, there are an estimated 210 million people around the world who are openly admitting that they are addicted to social media. In fact, for 18 to 22-year-olds just in the US, 40% of them report that they are addicted to social media. So my personal slot machine was this endless feed of success. As a small business owner, my feed was like a curated gallery of everything that I wasn't. Everyone seemed to be landing huge book deals or huge client contracts. And there were these digital nomads typing away on exotic beaches all around the world. And then everyone seemed to be bragging about their huge follower count on their perfectly curated personal brand content. So my reality was a little bit different. I'm sitting here in my London apartment instead of a big fancy townhouse, and I'm often just staring at a blank page, crippled with self-doubt. There was a mountain of rejection emails. There was fires to put out everywhere. And it was just this slow but sure and glamorous, messy route that I was taking on my journey to my definition of success. So the shiny content that I was binging, it wasn't inspiration. It was essentially paralysis. So instead of spending time working my own business, I was constantly consuming the proof of everyone else's success. So I was caught in this really toxic loop. I felt bad about my lack of progress, so I would turn to social media for distraction and maybe some inspiration. But then I'd see all this perfect content and everyone been having the most sorted lives and don't seem to be worried about anything, and it would make me feel worse about myself. So it had the opposite effect. So this constant upward social comparison, essentially measuring my raw, unfiltered, behind the scenes kind of messy life with everyone else's perfectly polished highlight reel, was essentially destroying me. And sadly, research really backs this up, because a study found that social media addiction is actually linked to a 63% increased likelihood of depression. So it's pretty scary out there, and it's really dangerous what social media, especially the comparisonitis, can do to you. I was living in this state of what you might call social comparison fatigue. The endless parade of perfection was triggering so much self-doubt that I just froze. I kind of figured, why even bothering trying? I can't be that good. So I ended up doing nothing. So my future then wasn't being killed by failure, it was being killed by inaction. And inaction fueled by other people's happy lives. It was somewhat easier to consume a fantasy than actually face my reality. And I'm not alone in this. So as I said, this experience is not an accident. It's literally the business model. Social media is not designed to keep us happy, it's designed to keep us engaged. And unfortunately, our dissatisfaction is incredibly engaging. The algorithms that run these platforms are actually masters of psychological manipulation. So their only job is to keep your eyes glued to that screen for as long as possible so they can essentially sell your attention to their advertisers, and that's how they make money. The algorithm does not give a damn about your well-being, it literally only cares about your watch time. And please, can we have some real talk for a moment about those happy lies that you're being fed? It's not just about a flattering filter. There's an entire industry out there on pure fakery. You must have heard all the wild stories out there about companies or even individuals now who literally hire out private planes, or at least sets of private jets and yachts and things like that, so they can create photo shoots for the gram and to make it look like they have this really super successful lives. And then obviously people still buy millions and millions of followers everywhere and likes and engagement just to look like they are popular and successful. This whole thing is an illusion of influence. An entire economy runs on trying to make life look effortless, whereas it's just purely staged and monetized. So the person that you see as the ultimate success icon might be completely drowned in debt just to maintain that image. And that perfect couple that you've seen, I know some that have actually got a contract for their brand and they are not even a couple at all. So you have no idea what's real and what's not. These platforms weaponize a natural human instinct. And that's what's known as a social comparison theory. A century ago, we might have compared ourselves to a few people in our local town. But today, we're able to instantly compare ourselves to billions of people on the internet. Your brain sees this endless stream of success and beauty and wealth and fitness and all the things that go along with it. And they consider this now the norm. And your brain then interpret it as you're the one that's falling behind. So this constant upward social comparison is directly linked with lower self-esteem and symptoms of depression. The algorithm essentially learns your insecurity and feeds them back to you, disguised as aspiration. So if you show like a casual interest in fitness content, then suddenly it drives you down this rabbit hole of like extreme dieting and finspiration, and then basically gives you content that has been seen to lead to eating disorders. A simple interest in beauty then can spiral into content showing risky cosmetic procedures. This system is designed to find what makes you feel less than, and then essentially sells you the dream of becoming more than. It creates this cycle of misery, and it goes as something a little bit like this. So step one, you feel a little bit down. Maybe you're bored, you're lonely, or you're stressed. So this leads to step two, you seek a distraction. So you open up your phone, you go for a little bit of dopamine hit, a little buzz. Step three, you then see the happy lie. You see the perfect lives of all these people, and then you think that your own life must be lacking. Step four, you then compare and despair. You look at your messy life that is real but chaotic and not perfect, and you look at it and compare with their absolute chiseled highlight reels, and you think yours must be less. And your confidence, self-esteem just takes a massive nosedive, and you're worse than when you first started opening the app. And step five, the addiction deepens. Because to escape this new, bad, more intense feeling, you keep scrolling, you keep looking for more, and the cycle just keeps getting worse and worse. So you're trapped. You're essentially using this thing that makes you feel inadequate to try and escape that sense of inadequacy. It's a brilliant, self-perpetuating machine for misery. It keeps you stuck. You're consuming instead of creating, you're dreaming instead of doing. If any of this is hitting home for you, then please do hit that like and subscribe button below and tell me in the comments what kind of shiny content is what triggers you the most, because just recognizing the pattern is the first step, and you should know that we're all in this together and you're not alone. So how do you break out of this digital prison? And the answer isn't necessarily to delete everything in your life and then go live in a cave. The real solution is to change your relationship with truth. So the path to a genuinely good life doesn't start with chasing someone else's beautiful lie. It starts with understanding what your reality really is. And when I say negative truth, and when I've talked about that in the past, I just mean reality without a filter. It's just admitting I'm not happy in my job, or saying I feel lonely, or acknowledging that by saying I haven't actually achieved any of my goals, and that's on me. And social media essentially teaches us to run from these goals, to hide them in some positive caption. This whole trend of toxic positivity. You feel like crap, but you put up a positive post and you have a fancy caption and you say that everything's going to be okay without actually doing anything. But accepting these hard, uncomfortable truths is not a weakness. It's actually our greatest strength. And when you stop fighting reality, you can actually start changing it. And that uncomfortable truth will be the most powerful motivation that you will ever find. So here are 4 real, actionable steps to help you get your real future back. So your feed is not something that happens to you, it's actually something that you can control. So right now, I want you to go on a massive unfollowing spree. I want you to mute or unfollow anyone that makes you feel bad about yourself. So that influencer whose perfect life makes you feel envious, gone. That fitness influencer who makes you feel like you're fat and lazy, gone. And that hustle bro who basically constantly talks to you about his grind and his morning routines and makes you feel unproductive, see ya. This isn't about being hateful, it's about protecting your mental space. Then you can intentionally build a feed that actually serves you. Follow the artists that show their messy processes. Follow the writers who talk about their rejections and how they handle it. Follow those entrepreneurs who actually talk about their failures rather than just their successes. Use the algorithm and don't let it use you. Fill it with reality and not just fantasy. So social media addiction traps you into this state of just watching, right? The trick is to change that into you actually doing something. So every hour that you spend scrolling on your phone, you could have spent that towards building a life that you're actually proud of. You have to constantly shift this balance. I want you to schedule creation time in your phone. It doesn't have to be a huge project. It can be 15 minutes learning a new skill on YouTube. It could be 30 minutes just with some writing time, creatively. Or it could even be just going for a short walk to think without using your phone. The goal is to replace that cheap dopamine hit of consumption and replace it with a real, deep, lasting sense of satisfaction you get from creating. The more you build in the real world, the less validation you're going to need from that digital one. So you need to create friction to break the cycle of mindless scrolling. So first step I'd say is turn off all non-essential notifications. So that little red bubble that you get in that corner of that app, it's like a psychological leash that brings you back in. So cut that completely out. I have a perfectly clean and designed front screen with no notifications on it and different shortcuts. And it's a really nice way of removing that so I can consciously choose when I go check my apps. Secondly, you should set some clear boundaries. For example, lots of people use the app timer on your phone to restrict the times of how long you can actually spend on each app. Like, I don't need to do that now. I've got to the place where I don't need to, but it's a great way to start. Or you can have clear boundaries. For example, no phones at the dinner table. Or you say that you don't use your phone in the first or last hour of the day, especially in your bedroom as you're getting up or going to bed at night. And when you do use social media, do it with a purpose. Don't just open up an app because you're bored. Actually ask yourself, why am I using this? And if you have a very clear goal, like checking in with a friend or looking something up, then you're less likely going to fall down this rabbit hole of digital comparison nightmare. So the happy lies sell a very narrow, materialistic idea of success. But a successful life isn't about looking perfect. It's about building something that's really, truly meaningful to you. Maybe your definition of personal success is building on a skill, or being a present parent, or building a really trusted circle of friends, or maybe overcoming a fear. I want you to write down with a pen and paper and say what real success truly means to you without any outside influence. And then, without sounding too woo, I want you to start actively practicing gratitude. Now, I'm not a woo person, but I do believe in a lot of this stuff. And I believe that gratitude is truly helpful, especially in these sort of situations, because comparison thrives on what you lack. But gratitude rewires your brain to truly appreciate what you have. So instead of starting the day scrolling through and seeing what everyone else has that you don't, start by writing down 3 things that you do have that you're extremely grateful for. This simple habit shifts your entire perspective and basically acts like a shield to protect you from the envy that social media is designed to create. So the world inside your phone is like one of those funhouse mirrors. It's a distortion. It's designed to reflect your insecurities back to you, all at a profit. So being addicted to these happy lies is almost like trying to quench your thirst with salt water. It promises to satisfy, but leaves you feeling even emptier than before, killing your motivation to find the fresh water of a real and authentic life. So breaking free isn't easy. It means choosing the uncomfortable reality of your own life over the fantasy of someone else's perfect life. It means having the guts to be a beginner, to be imperfect, to build something slowly and messily while having these flashes of perfection being thrown in your face by everyone else. But every moment that you choose creation over consumption, authenticity over performance, and your messy reality over their fantasy, you are taking back control of your future. The first step to winning the game is understanding how it's played. So put down your phone, look up, and start building a life that feels good on the inside rather than just looks good on the outside. That is the only success that will ever truly matter. So this video gave you a new perspective, then please do like and subscribe and share this video with someone else that you think really needs to hear this message. Let's change the conversation around this stuff together.